Hey guys, it's Jennifer. So pancakes are a pretty fun breakfast food for kids and adults. But most of the box mixes are full of just refined white flour, and that is not so nutritious. And then once we pour on the syrup, we can send our blood sugars soaring. And that is followed by a pretty dramatic drop. And once we hit that valley, we can feel lethargic and have absolutely no energy. And we can start to feel some cravings and oftentimes for sugar. And that is not so great. So today, I wanted to share with you a nutritious pancake recipe that is delicious, slightly indulgent, but won't send your blood sugars through the roof. So let's get started. The first thing that you're going to want to do is actually turn on your griddle or your nonstick pan and slightly grease it so that it is warm and ready to go when your batter is ready. And now we can put together our batter. So the first thing that we need is a brown speckled banana. And the browner, the better, because it's going to add a little bit of sweetness. It's also going to be easier to mash up when we are making our batter. So that's going to go in a medium-sized bowl and get it nice and mashed. To this, we are going to add 2 eggs. And these are lightly scrambled just so that they incorporate a little bit easier. Along with 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And that is our wet mixture. And so you can just give that a stir. And now we need our dry ingredients. Now, traditionally, there would be flour in this recipe, and we are not going to follow the traditional route. We are actually going to use old-fashioned oats or rolled oats, okay? And we're gonna make our own flour by using a 1/4 cup of these along with 1/2 tablespoon of chia seeds, and we are going to blend this up into a flour, and it is super simple. Now, I like to use my coffee grinder or spice grinder because it is super simple. It takes like 10 seconds to grind it into an actual flour. You could also use a high-powered or high-speed blender, and that would work also very well. And then a third option would be a food processor. Now, you would need to make a larger batch of this for it to work in a food processor because there has to be enough in it for it to blend up really well, and it could very easily take 30 to 60 seconds. You definitely want to see it look like a flour, and so it is going to look just like this, like a flour. So this is going into our mixture along with our cocoa powder, and this is what's going to make it slightly chocolatey, and this is 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. You could also use cacao powder, and either would be perfectly fine. And you would also want a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. And so all of this is just going to get mixed up very quickly and easily in your bowl. Now, the last ingredient is what makes it a little bit indulgent, and that is our chocolate chips. Now, you could easily leave it out if you are trying to leave out all of your added sugars, and that is totally okay. But this is kind of fun, and it's tasty. So if you are wanting a little bit of a fun food in your breakfast, this is what we want to add. We're using the mini chocolate chips, and that means we're going to get a little bit of chocolate in every single bite, and that sounds pretty delicious to me. So we are going to add those in and simply stir that up, and we are ready to go. Now, in order to scoop these out, we are going to use a 1/4 cup measure, and this is going to make about 6 pancakes. So we're just going to evenly space these out and put them on our griddle. Now, this recipe could very easily be doubled or even tripled depending on the size of your family. And actually, our family tends to do that pretty frequently to make a larger batch because we like to have these ready to go and just rewarm on weekday mornings. We will plop some into our toaster oven and they will rewarm in just about 2 or 3 minutes, and then they are nice and delicious. Now these pancakes are going to need a few minutes on each side, probably around 4, maybe 5, depending on how hot your griddle or your nonstick pan is. You'll start to see that they're actually cooked around the edges, and that's when you know that you want to flip them. Now, I think it's really important to talk about balance when we're talking about fun foods, especially at breakfast. We know that at lunch and even at dinner time that we want to have some fiber and some protein and some healthy fats at those particular meals. But it's also really important at breakfast as well. And we oftentimes don't get enough protein at our breakfast. So this recipe per serving has about 10 grams of protein. And that is pretty good for a pancake. But the research shows that we easily need 20, maybe even 30 or more grams of protein per breakfast in order for us to feel satiated and full until our next meal. So that way we're not feeling like we want a snack in between. And also so that your body can maintain and even build lean body mass. And that is really important throughout our life cycle at any particular age. So if you want to add some extra protein into this meal, a couple ways would be to add some eggs, 1 or 2 eggs, and that could be by having them hard-boiled and ready to go, or even scrambled or fried. Another option would be some cottage cheese or even some Greek yogurt. So those are a few quick and easy ways to bump up the protein so that this meal is going to feel very balanced and fill you up and give you the energy you need to get through your day. So it's been about 4 to 5 minutes, and we're starting to see the edges are cooked, and we're getting a little bit of some bubbling, and so that means that it's ready for us to flip. Okay, so it's been another 4 to 5 minutes, and they are ready to take off. And so this is the perfect time for us to talk about toppings. Now, we could certainly use the traditional syrup, and that would be certainly lovely and quite tasty. But if we want to get a little bit less of those added sugars, we have a couple different options. So one is that we could use banana. And we could certainly slice up some banana. Bananas also mash really well, so you can turn it into like a spread on top of the pancakes, and that is really yummy. Also, raspberries and strawberries are delicious with chocolate, so those would be great too. Another option is that we could use some nut butter and drizzle this on top. And almond butter along with some chocolate and some bananas is a match made in heaven. So I definitely think this is one of my favorite options. But also if you just want to eat them as is, they're really quite delicious. So however you choose to top your pancakes, I hope that they are amazing and that this becomes one of your new family favorite recipes.